The destroyer lifts out of the Atlantic and crashes down on top of a German submarine. Steel folds, rivets burst. Men slam against bulkheads as two warships become locked together in the freezing dark. The USS Borie is now riding across U-405 at a 30-degree angle. Barely 10 feet separates their crews, but Borie's 4-inch guns cannot depress far enough to hit the submarine beneath them. Then German sailors pour from the conning tower, racing for their machine guns. Lieutenant Charles Hutchins sees them coming. Repel boarders. American sailors rush to the rail with rifles, pistols, shotguns, submachine guns, anything they can carry. This is no longer naval warfare. This is a fight across 10 feet of black ocean, and only one ship is leaving alive. 70 minutes earlier, Borie is hunting alone. It is 1:45 in the morning on November 1, 1943. The destroyer's surface search radar catches something 8,000 yards away, a narrow shape moving across the North Atlantic. U-405. Its commander, Rolf Heinrich Hauptmann, is trying to cross the surface quickly where his diesel engines can recharge the submarine's batteries. But aboard Borie, 30-year-old Hutchins pushes the engine room telegraphs forward, 27 knots. His ship is a 23-year-old Clemson-class destroyer, 314 feet long, roughly 1,200 tons, with 4 funnels and 4 4-inch guns. She was built for another war. Her thin, aging hull already groans whenever the bow falls into the waves. Yet tonight, this old destroyer smells blood. U-405 dives. Borie charges directly toward the place where it disappears. Inside the sonar room, the world contracts into sound. Ping. The pulse travels through the water. Ping. An echo returns. U-405 is below them, turning hard. Hutchins reduces speed to 15 knots, so the destroyer's own propellers will not blind the sonar operators. Range: 2,200 yards, then 1,000, then 500. On the stern, sailors stand beside racks of cylindrical depth charges, each packed with hundreds of pounds of explosive. They wait for the order that will send a pattern around the submarine. Stand by! The sonar echo races beneath the bow. Hutchins commits to the attack. The release mechanism moves and fails catastrophically. Every depth charge in the stern racks rolls into the sea at once. Men throw themselves against the deck. The Atlantic erupts. The explosion lifts Borie's stern clear of the water. Her propellers spin in empty air. Lights flicker. Sonar goes dead beneath the roar. But the accident wounds U-405 too. The submarine bursts through the surface, water cascading from its hull. Borie's 24-inch searchlight snaps on, trapping it inside a white circle. Hutchins can see the polar bear insignia on the conning tower. He can also see Germans running toward the weapons. U-405's 20mm cannon fires first. Shells rip into Borie near the bridge and forward engine room, filling passageways with fragments and smoke. Then Borie answers. Her first director-controlled 4-inch salvo smashes the submarine's 88mm deck gun off its mounting before it fires a single round. Hauptmann turns violently. His smaller submarine can outturn the destroyer. Hutchins realizes that if he cannot shoot it, he must hit it. Prepare to ram. Borie accelerates. Hauptmann sees the destroyer approaching and swings U-405 away. Hutchins orders hard left, trying to strike the submarine from behind before it slips into darkness. Then a wave lifts Borie's bow. The destroyer climbs onto U-405's starboard quarter instead of slicing through it. Its thin hull screams against the submarine's pressure-resistant steel. Both vessels stop, locked together. As Germans climb from the conning tower, Borie's main battery becomes useless. The targets are directly below the guns, but Hutchins' crew has rehearsed for close combat. The ship erupts with small arms fire. Thompson submachine guns hammer from the bridge. Rifles crack. Shotguns blast across the gap. Oerlikon crews shoot through their own metal weather screens to stop Germans from reaching the submarine's weapons. The searchlight makes every man a silhouette. The range is too close for tactics. It is close enough to see faces. A Borie petty officer draws his sheath knife. He throws it across the water and strikes a German sailor trying to reach a gun. Nearby, the chief boatswain's mate grabs a hot, spent 4-inch shell casing. He hurls it down onto another German, knocking him into the 40-degree sea. For 10 minutes, the ships grind together. Neither crew can retreat. Around 35 Germans die during the close-quarters struggle. None reaches the submarine's machine guns. But Borie is paying a price no one on deck can see. Each wave raises the destroyer and slams her down again. U-405's stronger hull acts like a steel blade beneath her. Below the waterline, Borie's port side begins to split open. The ocean rushes in. In the forward engine room, the water climbs from ankles to knees, then to chests. It is black with fuel oil and bitterly cold. Engineer Officer Lieutenant Morrison Brown remains beside the throttles. The ship is flooding around him, but if the engines stop, U-405 may escape or turn its stern torpedo tube toward Borie. Brown's men keep the machinery alive while water reaches their shoulders. Then the pumps lose suction. Motor machinist's mate Irving Somm takes one breath and dives beneath the oily surface. In total darkness, he feels along pipes and wreckage until his fingers find an open drain fitting. He closes it. The pumps bite again. The fur room remains dry enough to keep steam pressure alive. Above them, the ships finally tear apart. U-405 slips free, and because of the men standing in freezing water, Borie can still move. Hauptmann makes his escape. At 400 yards, Borie's 4-inch guns can fire again. Shells hammer U-405's diesel exhaust, but the submarine keeps turning. Borie launches a torpedo. It misses in the heavy sea. Hauptmann swings his stern toward the destroyer. Hutchins suddenly sees the torpedo tube pointing directly at his bridge. "Kill the searchlight!" Darkness swallows both ships. Hutchins uses the moment to reposition, then surges forward at 27 knots and illuminates U-405 again. This time, Hauptmann turns toward Borie, attempting to ram her. Hutchins stops the starboard engine, reverses the port engine, and throws the helm hard left. The destroyer's stern swings around. 3 shallow-set depth charges launch from the starboard K-guns. They straddle U-405's conning tower. The explosions stop the submarine 6 feet from Borie's hull. Still, U-405 refuses to die. The submarine backs away, wounded but moving. Borie fires another torpedo. It passes roughly 10 feet ahead of the bow. Hauptmann opens the range to 700 yards. Now Hutchins unleashes everything. 4-inch shells rip into the submarine. One barrage strikes the bridge, throwing Hauptmann and several men into the sea. Another smashes into the diesel exhaust. At last, U-405 stops. About 15 survivors climb into small yellow rafts. Cries of "Kamerad" carry across the water. Hutchins orders ceasefire and turns his mortally damaged ship toward them. Then, colored flares rise from the German rafts. Other flares answer from the darkness. Another U-boat is nearby. A torpedo appears 30 yards off Borie's port side. Hutchins orders an emergency turn. The destroyer escapes, but plows through the rafts. No German survives. At 2:57 a.m., U-405 slides beneath the Atlantic and explodes underwater. A cheer erupts aboard Borie. Then the sailors look down. Their own deck is settling closer to the sea. The forward engine room is lost. Hull plates are crushed and open. Fog and pouring rain hide the horizon while the waves build from 20 feet toward 40. For 14 hours, the crew fights a second battle. They throw ammunition overboard. Torpedoes follow. 20-millimeter guns disappear into the sea. Anything heavy enough to drag the wounded ship down is cut loose. Men wedge mattresses into ruptured compartments and reinforce bulkheads that flex with every wave. Other ships from the USS Card Group arrive, but the sea is too violent to come alongside. The enemy submarine is gone. Now the Atlantic is trying to finish what it started. Hutchins waits as long as he can. He knows abandoning ship in these waves may kill more men than staying aboard. But darkness is approaching, and Borie is losing the argument with the ocean. The order finally comes. Abandon ship. Sailors jump into water cold enough to seize the breath from their lungs. Rafts rise 40 feet, vanish into valleys of foam, then rise again. Rescue nets whip against the sides of the escorting ships. 27 American sailors are lost, not in the gunfight, but during the desperate transfer through the storm. Morrison Brown, the engineer who stands at the throttles as icy water rises around him, is among the dead. Hutchins is pulled from the sea. Behind him, the ship that saves its crew through the battle now rolls helplessly beneath the rain. There is no way to bring her home. On November 2nd, American aircraft and another destroyer finish the abandoned Borie, so she cannot become a hazard. The old four-stacker disappears into the same Atlantic where U-405 lies. There is no victorious ship sailing into port, no clean ending, only survivors carrying the memory of searchlight glare, freezing oil, and faces seen across 10 feet of ocean. Hutchins receives the Navy Cross. So does Irving Somm, the machinist who dives beneath the flooded engine room. Morrison Brown receives his posthumously. The official records call it a destroyer versus submarine engagement, but that description feels too distant. For 70 minutes, two crews fight with naval guns, depth charges, torpedoes, pistols, knives, and bare hands. Borie wins the battle. The Atlantic claims the victor. And somewhere beneath the waves, the two enemies remain together, exactly where their final fight leaves them.